Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel Amiel. I'm glad you've clicked on this video. Today we are talking about something very critical for a lot of you guys and has been very critical for me over the past few years as I graduated high school and now am a university graduate. So I am going to get into my top 10 tips for studying for exams, and that includes VCE exams, graduate exams, university exams, everything and beyond. I feel like I am pretty knowledgeable in the area. Gotten through VCE with a decent ATAR. If you guys have seen my ATAR reaction, maybe you have. I did one of these like tips video ages ago, and I thought I'm gonna update it with a lot more recent kind of tips and tricks that I've gone through. So without further ado, if you guys want to smash out your exams, please listen in because I'm gonna get straight into it. Alright, first up is to create a detailed study schedule. As you go through your weeks in university, for example, it's a 12-week chunk period of your life. So they give you your 12 weeks. Most of the time they give you a schedule of your 12 weeks. So I've done a couple videos over my university degree of how I schedule and prepare for a productive university semester. So if you want to click on that, you can. It also pretty much goes through what I'm going to go through for this tip. But I personally created a Google Doc, split all the weeks up into 12 little weeks and wrote exactly what I needed to do per week. So it helped me stay on top of what I need to do and make sure that I am studying or doing everything that I need to do in order to understand the content of that whole semester. So for example, week 1, I'll go, you have to make sure you watch these lectures. Then do these worksheets that they're going to give us, even if it's not mandatory and like assessed. Do the worksheets because that is part of studying. So this planning is literally the key to your success. Allow for specific times for subjects. So once you've got all your subjects in little chunks, this is the same for VCE, so you can make the same because normally the study schedule is pretty obvious of what you're going to learn every week. You put it into the little chunks that you're able to manage, and then you can grab your calendar and write little times every week when you're going to tackle subjects. So back when I was in VCE, which, oh my god, it was such a long time ago, but what I would do is put it into little chunks. So I would go home on a Monday and be like, okay, well, Monday I am tackling chemistry and English. Try and make it like a bit of a different subjects so you don't like end up doing the same thing, because I was doing like kind of 2 math subjects. If I did them on the same day, my brain would be dead. But I would make sure to prioritize only 2 subjects max every day other than homework to focus and study on for my VCE, because if you do more than that, you are not really concentrating and focusing on what you need to do. You're kind of just doing a whole broad study session when you need to really make it like a very detailed study session. So using tools like my calendar that I wrote down just to know what days is what subjects, so like just making sure I'm sticking to that schedule, and obviously doing your homework as well, really helped with both uni and school. What really helped me throughout like all my studying and all my learning life is active learning techniques. So I wouldn't just take notes. I did take pretty notes. If you guys have seen photos of my pretty notes, like that was me iconically in year 11 and 12. In university I didn't do that, but instead of just passively taking notes and like being half asleep when you're listening to the teacher, or I don't know, just putting on like some loud ass techno music and writing notes, you are not going to gain any of that information in your brain. So you're going to spend more time like studying afterwards to really understand what you've written. What my perfect and favorite active learning technique was a mind map. Loved mind maps, and I still do, but mind maps were like my go-to during VCE. I would go with one topic on the study plan, say like it was conservation, I don't know, and I would put it in the center of that mind map and then just draw on what I remembered, and then I would go back to my notes and add it on top. What I loved doing these mind maps was sticking them up somewhere that I would be seeing every day. So back in my old house when I was in VCE, I would stick them across from my desk. So every time I sat at my desk, even if I was just like mindlessly going on my phone or whatever, my eyes would just be drawn to the mind map because A, it would look cool and it would be colorful, and I would just like read it, and then somehow that knowledge like really like got into my brain because it was just something I repetitively read and repetitively looked at, and then I understood the information. That was my perfect way of actively learning. I know there's a lot more different ways, but honestly, really do try mind maps. I used to hate them back like early in high school. I was like, what's the point of them? Like, it's just like note taking, but like really more annoying because you have to like summarize information. But like it really helped gain that information in my brain. But also like you can use it as like a study session. You can look at your mind map, not write that much information, like just write a little tiny subtopic and be like, okay, wait, what do I remember from that? And have your actual full notes next to you and be like, okay, I missed this. Like, this is something I need to work on. This is something I don't remember. Utilize your practice exams. Like, I know that you, if you're watching, you're a VC student, you are using your practice exams, because if you don't, you're just going into your exams like basically YOLOing it. But they are there for a lot more than just practice. Yes, you can just grab the questions, practice them and read them all the time, but what you want to do with those exams is make sure you keep track of what you're getting wrong and what kind of topics you're consistently getting wrong. So again, make a Google Doc, make a document or something where you can track this, and make sure you're tracking which topics you are consistently getting wrong. So say for example you do a chemistry exam and you've done multiple and you keep getting photochemistry wrong. Make sure you take note of that topic, what subtopics you are consistently getting wrong, and make sure you're focusing on that on your next chemistry study session. It is such a good way to understand your missing areas for improvement. And also just familiarizing yourself with the setup of the exam, because typically VCE exams are pretty much the same year to year. So just sitting down, familiarizing yourself, getting yourself in that environment so you're not scared when you actually go to the exam really helps. And also you can keep tracks of topics that you keep doing well, because that's going to build your confidence. You're going to be like, hey, I'm going to smash that topic out in the exam. Unfortunately, universities don't give that many practice exams, so you can't really tackle these. But again, having that document to have areas of need for improvement helps with any studying you're doing, any exam. Cue cards. Cue cards are your laviola. I frothed using cue cards for English quotes when I was going through English VCE. That really helped me memorize the quotes. What I would do is put the first like couple words of the quote into the front of the cue cards and then the rest of the quote at the back. So as soon as I saw "and they said" or something like that, I would try and memorize the rest of the quote. And by the end of VCE, I pretty much knew all my quotes. I think I knew like 40 or more for each book I needed to tackle. So just tackling these in your English study sessions like really help. But cue cards for any subject, like anything you need to memorize, cue cards really help. They can be boring, I know, to go through, but having it on Quizlet, for example, really helped me, because if I was going on the train somewhere and I was by myself and I was bored, cue cards. You can just tackle yourself and challenge your brain and make sure you're staying on top of memorization through cue cards. Definitely utilize cue cards. I loved Quizlet, but if you guys like writing them, go ahead, because even passively writing them can also help you learn the information. What I don't really like about writing them is because sometimes I would look at the cue card, the color of it, and I know exactly what the answer was, so I'll be associating the color with like the answer. And obviously in an exam setting you ain't getting no colors, like pretty much they print them like black and white and like crossy, you can't even see the photos. Again, it's to your discretion. These are just tips. This is what really worked for me. Next tip is to go ahead in your subjects. I know a lot of people don't like hearing this because they want to take their school holidays as like a chill pill session, and you should do that, because relaxation is one of the most important things that you can do to help your brain develop and grow and memorize stuff. If you keep just bombarding it with information, it's just going to be like, no thanks, I don't want to learn anymore, and it's just going to stop working for you. So what I did back in school was take the first week to literally relax. Literally do nothing, don't touch any work, any schoolwork, any homework, any studying, and like leave it on the back burner. And then the second week I was going ahead of my subjects. So obviously, again, you get the study plan and study guide and you know exactly what's going to come up, so you know exactly what you need to go ahead in. So maths was pretty easy, you pretty much knew what chapters was going to be followed, so I would start tackling that, start teaching it myself. Even if I didn't understand it, I'll just start attempting to teach myself, and then so I knew as soon as I went into school the next following week and we started learning that topic, I knew what I needed to focus on, what I didn't understand, and I would listen more intensely and more closely to the teacher when they explained that concept. Going ahead in your subjects really gives you that step ahead of people. I would attempt to be like 1 week ahead at school, I believe, and then university I would attempt to be 1 week ahead. Literally staying on top of things is the key, and again, that all goes back to your schedule, maintaining yourself on your schedule, maintaining that you're on time. Pretty much never let yourself fall back. University, a lot of people just take it slack because they're like, uni, but don't let yourself fall back, because it actually is a lot of content to learn in 12 weeks at university. It's so easy to fall back and it's really hard to pick yourself back up on track and also get ahead if you fall back. So stay on top of your tasks. The next tip is to implement something called the Feynman technique. I didn't really know what this technique was until I literally just researched it and found out the actual name of the person that came up with it. But I've actually been actively using this technique for years. And this technique is teaching a concept you know to someone else as a way to know if you can explain it clearly and simply to them, then you pretty much know and understand the concept. Throughout uni or high school, I would go to my family that were really close to me because they probably were fine with me harassing them about memorizing stuff for school and uni, but I would go to them and try and explain a concept. I'd be like, oh my god guys, like I learned something really interesting, and you try and explain it. And then obviously if they're interested and they're listening to you, they'll ask questions and challenge you. And if you can't answer those questions, you know what, you need to go back and learn. This is literally like the whole idea of studying, is to find areas that you need to improve and find areas that you don't understand and just go back on them and learn. And keep learning until you truly understand a concept and explain it simply and clearly to others without them having any hindering questions. The Feynman technique is literally slay, and I've been using it for years. Alongside that, my next technique is to have like little sections. What I would do with my cue cards, as stemming off the cue card tip, is to split my cue cards into what I know, what I'm confident about, what I'm still iffy about. So maybe like let's revive that like in a couple of days time, and what I need to improve. This is stemming off needing to understand where you need to memorize again or learn a concept much more. So apparently this is called the Leitner system. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but this is a system where basically you get your cue cards, you're going through them, you go, okay, I know this, put it in a pile that I know. So it will come up a bit often, especially if you're using Quizlet or like some cue cards online system. I think there are some that you can do this. Then you go through again, you get a question, and you're like, oh, I knew the answer, but I only knew it like half-heartedly. So let's put this in, like, needs to be revived, like needs to, you know, be redone. And then you go through another cue card, which you absolutely don't know the answer to, you put it into needs to learn. Now, some online systems, or like you can do it manually by putting it into boxes, you will obviously go back and redo the one that you need to learn much more regularly than the one that you're a bit iffy of, but you still do that semi-regularly, and the ones you pretty much know you won't do as regularly. So it's an easy way to like distinguish your like area of knowledge and like really distinguish it into like 3 little piles. So this is just basically to reinforce your weaker areas and tackle them, because if you can tackle the weaker areas, these are typically like very common weak areas for like everyone in the cohort. So if you can tackle them and like understand it to like a T, you're good to go for your exam. Like if you understand a really hard topic, it's really going to boost you above the rest of the cohort. Next tip is the 50-10 rule. This is like specifically for me and what I tackled, but basically I would tackle that subject for 50 minutes and then take a 10-minute break. That 10-minute break will be like walking around the house, having a chat to a family member, having a chat to friends, like whatever, going on my phone. Making sure that your phone is away for the 50 minutes is very crucial. Reduce the amount of distractions you have in your study space. Having this like 50-10 rule, or like a Pomodoro technique, or whatever other technique that works for you, it really helps you give your brain a refresh and a restart. Especially if you're tackling another subject next, it really helps you refresh your mind. So say 50 minutes I'm gonna do English, 10 minutes I'm gonna have a little break, like a little chill, and then I'm gonna come back to my desk, but I'm gonna switch to specialist maths. Like that is a very much a turnover. So having your brain like just relax and be able to like have a stop pause before you tackle something completely different and like keep it confused, yeah, just prevents burnout and keeps your brain fresh, keeps you fresh, keeps studying somewhat exciting. Like, I wouldn't spend hours on one subject and like one day because I would get so bored. This keeps your like study like fresh, bouncy, and like the next tip is to speak out loud. This is like such like a weird tip, I guess, to just say. Speak out loud. It's like a way of like active recall, and it really helps you, like if you don't have a friend or family to speak to study in a way that helps challenge your brain. Learning how to explain a concept out loud in a way really helps you before you have to tackle it on a question or on a paper. It may be easier to write because you can think about what you're writing or rub out, redo, but when you're speaking, you get one shot at explaining the concept. So I would love to speak out loud. If I was having cue cards, I would speak out loud, not just keep it in my brain. Speak out loud to yourself, even in the mirror or anything. Number one thing for exams, especially VCE, is making sure you are keeping your answers simple yet effective. They don't want to read large chunks of paragraphs. I know for especially environmental science, if I'm thinking back like 4 years ago, they didn't like it when you would write like a paragraph for like a 2-mark question, because 2 marks means basically 2 sentences. That was the way it went in VCE, and that's what they taught us. Marks are associated with how much you have to write. So learning how to consolidate information and squishing it in really helps. I feel like this is like another tip. Lol. Marks are often associated with how much you need to write. So say it's 10 marks, you have to write like 10 meaningful and effective sentences that explain the question. Keep that in mind. It is important in university, it's important in VCE, it's important in like a lot of things in life. You have to associate like marks with how much you need to write. Do not overwrite, don't overcomplicate things. A lot of times if you overcomplicate things, the teacher's going to get back to you and be like, hey, you could have explained this much more simply. Especially in the workforce, when you go beyond a graduate role and you get into the workforce, explaining things effectively and simply is very attractive to work and recruiters. Do any of you guys have a study journal? As I mentioned before, have a little planner, a document, like a Word document or anything. I've gone through a lot of like online situations of learning how to like accommodate through it and learning what works for me, but making sure you have a little visual planner that you can see visually. For example, so back in high school I had this like little planner I got from Kmart, and I stuck it up on a wall, and every single week I would go erase it and write again what was important that week. Staying on top of your schedule, staying on top of what you need to do every week is like another tip, but just making sure it was visual. Having this visual reminder of what you need to do, something you can access every day, something you can see every day. Say that's like reminders on your phone or like a thing you print out and put on your wall, but making sure you actually visually see that every day so you acknowledge what you're up to, what you need to do, what you need to tackle. It's very important for like reiterating what stage you're at, what you need to do, and making sure you don't miss out on anything. Like imagine you go to school and they're like, yo, we've got a sack, and you never even knew. I had it right next to my desk, would make sure to take a time out on Sunday to write exactly what was coming up that week. So I was never scared, I was always prepared, because university and year 12 can be a really hectic time. So making sure you're prepared, making sure you're on top of everything, taking that little time out of your week to really consolidate what was coming up that week, mentally preparing yourself. I cannot reiterate that like year 12 and the hectic times in your life all comes down to making sure you are scheduling yourself and planning yourself and making sure you're on top of stuff. Don't let yourself fall back. I'm reiterating all these tips I've just told you into like one little thing. Stay on top of everything. Stay on top of your life. Understand what's coming up. Making sure you plan everything accordingly. Like even write on that planner, like you've got someone's birthday coming up. Like these are all things that impact your life, impact your studying ability, and impact the craziness of year 12. I just want to say, I hope these little quick 10 tips for university graduate students, VCE students really help you guys. I know that exams are coming up real soon, so I hope this video was made at a right time for you guys to help, and also like yeah, I'm just happy to share my knowledge that I've gained over the years. And again, this is only like 10 little tips I like quickly like rubbished up from my brain. So if you guys want more tips, if you guys have any questions for anything, leave them down below. I'm very happy to stay on top of them and answer them and help you all out any chance I get. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and leave a subscribe down below if you guys want to see more videos about like productivity and like like staying on top of stuff. Very much happy to share my knowledge and also get through this little life that we've got. Thanks so much, guys. Leave a subscribe down below and don't forget to keep on smiling and sharing that light inside of you guys. Love you guys. Bye.